We're here in Sweetser, Indiana with Richard Winger at Yesterday's Wheels Museum. And you have such a fascinating museum here. You have everything from motorcycles to aviation. We're standing right here in front of this big hunk of metal here. What is this?
Well, I brought this back from Germany. There's not many here in the U.S. This is a Messerschmitt ME-109 aircraft engine. It puts out about 1,500 horsepower.
The ME-109 was our main adversary in World War II.
Shot down a lot of our guys.
Yes.
They started building them in the late 30s, and by the time the war was over with, by 45, the Messerschmitt was a pretty good plane. This is what they call a DB, means Daimler-Benz. Mercedes built this engine. It's called a 605. It's got almost 2,000 cubic inches, 1,500 horse. It was fuel injected, which our planes were not in fuel injected. They were way ahead of it. Fuel injected, supercharged. But we can see when this plane wasn't shot down, not that we know of, but it did crash. And down here, you'll see a connecting rod sticking through the side.
Looks like a massive engine failure.
Yeah, it was a massive engine failure. I'd love to have the history on this motor. Now, I brought this back from Germany. It was missing a few parts. I keep picking up parts for it from friends of mine in Germany. It's pretty heavy. It weighs about 3/4 of a ton. So it's got pistons in, 12 cylinders. The pistons must be that big around. And it's quite a motor. It's overhead camshaft. And it's really unique.
And what I like is your World War II history. And you have a local connection here. And behind us on the wall here, some pretty special artifacts.
I guess this goes back to when the museum opened up. A very good friend of mine, he's not with us now, his name was Don Haskell, and he was a ball turret gunner on a B-17, like this one above us right here. Yeah. Ball turret would be that job right in there.
That was a tough job.
A tough job. The name of his bomber was called Blues of the Night, which was a very popular song in 1942. Don was the nicest guy. The Haskell family goes back many, many years here in town, and Don passed away in 2003.
Everywhere I look in this museum, I just want to know about everything in here.
This is a Zundapp. This particular machine I've had about 5-6 years. A lot of history behind it.
What year are we talking here?
1940. This is called a KS 500, which means a 500 means it's 500 cc's. It has the typical boxer twin. A boxer twin is a Poe cylinder. This particular bike has a lot of history. I got it from a fella who worked for Smithsonian. He brought it back from Germany. He has found out that it was used by the Gestapo, actually used by the Gestapo. Now the sidecar, we can't tie that down, but the bike we can. The bike was made by Zundapp in Nuremberg, or the dealer was in Nuremberg, Germany. On the front fender is the plate for the Nuremberg dealer. It's got some unusual features, like, for example, right down here, those are not, they look like horns, but they're not. That would equate to a siren on an American-made police motorcycle. The way it worked is, when I pull this lever right here, now, if you notice on the front wheel, you see that moving back and forth on the front wheel? That is an air pump. And when you pull this lever, that spins that little wheel, and it pumps up air pressure, and it blows these horns. They're
actually air horns.
Well, they don't sound like a beautiful air horn. They make a terrible noise. So it's got some unusual features about it that it's a fun bike to ride. This is the only bike I got close to being hurt with this. I was teaching my wife how to handle this because it is easy to ride. But my wife has a lot of problems with using a hand clutch and a hand shifter. What happened was, let me step back here, Ray. We were over in the subdivision, and I taught her how to ride this out here in the yard. So we went over in the subdivision, so she got on the bike. Well, what I done, I actually got in the sidecar, but I didn't get down into it. What I done, I sat on the back like this, okay? I said, all right, now, Wanda, take off. But I said, don't pop the clutch. Well, you know what happened. She popped the clutch, and I'm like this, so I went out backwards. And I mean, I went all over the road. Some guy just turned the corner, and he seen it happen. He thought I was hurt. I was laughing, really. I was laying right on my back. The only thing I'd done was scratch my elbow. But Wanda, bless her heart, it just lost it. She took off, went down the side ditch and out in the field, and finally come to a stop. So I guess the Germans was getting back at me with this in here. So that's a little story about the Zundapp.
This car here, I mean, I can see why you're interested in this because
it's half motorcycle,
half car.
It's called a cycle car.
Okay.
This is a local car. It was made in Indianapolis in we think about 1913. You'll notice the engine is right out in the open here. Down here in front is the hand crank, where you crank it. Here's the fan. Because it's air-cooled, it had to have a fan to keep it cool. The belt is so old that the belt's really no good. If I was to run it now, I'd have to put a new belt on it. It's a very, very crude automobile. But you got to keep in mind, in the teens, automobiles were very expensive. This was pretty cheap. Even then, this cost money. This cost probably $225 when it was brand new, and that was a lot of money in 1913. But if you couldn't afford an automobile, you bought one of these here. This car here, when I got it, the guy said, I said, how's it run? He said, oh, it runs real great. When I got it home, I found out it had never been run. So I had to make it run. So when I got that done, I thought, well, I might as well redo it all over. I didn't like the paint job. Oil tank, fuel tank. Very unique little car. And it would probably go, it would probably run maybe 35 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. So, but anyway, it's the only Hoosier-built vehicle I got. Now,
did they build a lot of these?
Other companies did. I have a listing of cycle cars, and in this country, I believe they built over 200 different kinds. There was one built right down here at Converse. There was none built here in Sweetser, but this was built in Indianapolis. The company in Indianapolis that built this was called the Spacke. Part of the Spacke factory still stands in Indianapolis. I've seen it. But anyway, Spacke specialized in these engines here. They built their own engine. It was built for motorcycles, and it was also built for cycle cars.